Okay, let's kick off this deep dive with a quick word association game. If I just say the word missions, especially in a church context, what is the very first image that hits your brain? Be totally honest.
Honest answer.
Mm.
Um, Probably a world map in a hallway somewhere.
Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
know the exact one? It's usually a cork board. It has like some faded Polaroids of a family and matching polo shirts and a whole bunch of push pins.
Right. Or I immediately think of that awkward missionary moment in a Sunday service where someone comes up, shows a slideshow of a jungle, and then asks you for financial support.
Yeah, that is definitely the cultural baseline for most of us. We tend to view missions as a specific department.
Like the Foreign Affairs Office of the church.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an activity for these super adventurous specialists, the Navy SEALs of faith,
Uh,
basically. And for the rest of us, it's just a line item in the budget.
It's kind of a side dish. You have your main course, worship, community, sermons. And then if there's time and money left over, well, you have missions. But the stack of sources we're looking at today for you all, they are arguing for a complete demolition of that view. They aren't just saying that perspective is slightly off. They're saying it is fundamentally backwards.
It is a massive paradigm shift
Hmm.
because the core argument in this literature is that mission isn't something the church invented.
Okay.
It's not a program. It's not even an activity of the church. The claim here is that mission is the very nature of God himself.
Which, I mean, that sounds like a really nice theological bumper sticker, but you're going to have to unpack that. How can mission be God's actual nature?
Well, there is a specific Latin term that shows up all over these texts, Missio Dei,
Missio Dei.
literally the mission of God. And the overarching argument is that the church doesn't have a mission. God's mission has a church.
Run that by me again. God's mission has a church. That sounds like you're just playing word games.
It does sound like semantics at first, I know, but the implication is huge.
Oh, so?
Because we usually think that we organize the outreach, we come up with the grand strategy, and then we ask God to bless it.
Right, our plan.
But Missio Dei argues that God has been on a mission to redeem the cosmos long before the church, or, even humanity existed. We aren't the owners of the mission. We're just getting swept up in a current that is already flowing.
So we aren't the CEOs of the operation. We're more like interns.
Participants
Yeah.
or partners.
Yeah.
And the sources say, if you want to really understand this, if you want to move past that map and the hallway view, you can't just start reading your Bible in the New Testament.
Right.
You have to trace a single narrative thread from the very first sentence of Genesis to the last sentence of Revelation.
Which is exactly what we are going to do for you today. We are tracking the heartbeat of the entire Bible. And I assume, based on standard church history, we start with the Great Commission, right? Matthew 28, go and make disciples.
And you would be wrong.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
Our main source is extremely explicit on this. If you start with the Great Commission, you are essentially walking into the movie during the final act and trying to guess the plot.
You've missed all the character development.
Precisely. You're starting way too late.
So where do we actually start then? Genesis 1.
Even earlier, we start before there was a world. The text points to the Trinity.
Okay, wow, we are going deep immediately. Why does the Trinity matter for a conversation about a church map with pushpins? That feels incredibly abstract.
It feels abstract, sure, but it's the absolute foundation. Before creation, you have the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And the theologians point out that their relationship is defined by love and by sending.
Sending.
Yes. The Father sends the Son, the Father and Son send the Spirit. There is this eternal outward movement of love.
Ah, so sending isn't just a panic response to a problem. It's not just fixing sin.
That is the key insight. God is a sending God by nature, not just by necessity. He was missional before there was anyone to save. Mission is just who he is.
Which totally reframes creation, doesn't it? It's not just God being bored and making a cosmic Lego set.
No, not at all. The text actually calls creation an outward movement of divine generosity. It's the love of the Trinity spilling over to create something other than itself. And that brings us to the first humans.
Adam and Eve, Genesis 1.
Exactly. The cultural mandate. Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. Now, normally we read that as just, hey, have a lot of kids.
Right, a biological imperative.
But it's theology. The source focuses on the term image of God, imago Dei. And this is one of those details that completely blows your mind once you see the historical context.
Okay, lay it on me.
So in the ancient Near East, where this text was originally written, kings had a very specific way of marking their territory.
Like planting a flag?
Similar idea, but way more permanent. If a great king conquered a new territory, he didn't live there. He stayed back in his capital.
Makes sense.
But he would set up a statue, an image of himself, right in the middle of that land.
A physical statue.
Yes. It was a marker that said, this land belongs to the king, and this statue represents his rule here.
Oh, wow.
So when God places humans in the garden and calls them image bearers, he is deputizing them.
We are the statues.
We are the living statues. The mission was to take the boundaries of Eden, this little pocket of order and beauty, and expand it, to fill the earth with the glory of God.
So the original mission wasn't to leave Earth and go to heaven, it was to make the whole Earth look like heaven.
That is the crucial distinction. We were meant to be royal stewards, but obviously the plan hits a massive snag.
A pretty catastrophic snag. Genesis 3, the fall. Humanity rebels. We essentially topple the statue.
We do. And this is usually where people think the mission actually begins. You know, uh-oh, humans broke it, now God has to go fix it.
Plan B.
Right. But the Force points out something fascinating about God's reaction in Genesis 3.
Well, there is judgment. People get kicked out of the garden. It definitely seems like a rejection.
True, there are heavy consequences. But look at the immediate reaction before that. Adam and Eve are hiding. Shame has officially entered the world. What does God do? Does he vaporize them? Does he storm off?
He comes looking for them.
He goes for a walk. The text identifies this as the first missionary question in history. It's not a human asking, how do I find God? It's God walking through the trees asking, where are you?
That is a powerful flip. Because if you ask anyone on the street, we usually think of religion as man's desperate search for God.
And the Bible presents itself as God's search for man. Even in the middle of that judgment, there's this promise, the proto-evangelium, or the first gospel.
Genesis 3:15, right?
Yeah, exactly. God promises that the seed of the woman will crush the serpent. Even in the darkest moment, the rescue operation is announced.
So the mission itself didn't change.
It just intensified. He went from creator to redeemer, but the movement is exactly the same. God moving toward humanity to restore what was lost.
Okay, so God is on the hunt. He wants to save the world. But then as we track this narrative, we get to Genesis 12, and the strategy gets pretty controversial.
The Abrahamic pivot.
Yeah. God decides he wants to save the whole world, and he starts by picking one elderly nomad in the middle of nowhere and seemingly ignoring everyone else.
It is what scholars call the scandal of particularity.
It feels incredibly exclusive. If I'm listening to this deep dive right now and I'm a bit skeptical, I'm thinking, why does God play favorites? Why pick one guy and leave the rest of the globe in the dark?
It certainly looked like favoritism to the people on the outside, but the source emphasizes a concept here called instrumental election.
Instrumental election. Break that down for us.
It means you are chosen for a purpose. It's not, Abraham, I like you best, here's a bunch of gold and a really comfy life.
Right.
It is, I am blessing you so that in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed.
Ah, so he wasn't chosen for privilege at all. He was chosen for a job.
Exactly. He was a conduit. The blessing was never meant to stop with him. Our sources are clear. If the blessing stops with you, you have entirely missed the point of the election.
That's a huge shift in perspective.
And this sets the pattern for the whole Old Testament and the nation of Israel. If we jump forward to Exodus 19, God gives Israel a specific job title, a kingdom of priests.
I have heard that phrase 1,000 times, kingdom of priests, but what does it actually mean practically?
Well, think about what a priest does in any religion. A priest stands in the gap. They mediate between the deity and the people.
Okay.
Israel was supposed to be the mediator for the entire world.
So they were supposed to be the showcase nation.
That is a fantastic way to put it. The source uses this physics analogy that I think perfectly clarifies the strategy. Centrifugal versus centripetal force.
Okay, my high school physics class was a very long time ago. Refresh me.
Centrifugal pushes outward. Think of a spinning carnival ride pushing you to the edge. Centripetal pulls inward toward the center.
Got it.
The New Testament is largely centrifugal, go and tell. But the Old Testament strategy was largely centripetal. Israel was supposed to be magnetic.
Magnetic how? Just by existing?
By how they lived, their laws, their treatment of the poor, their justice system, their worship. It was supposed to be so distinct and so beautiful that the surrounding nations would look over the border and say, wow, look at their wisdom. Who is their God? We want to know him.
So they weren't necessarily supposed to send missionaries out to Babylon. They were supposed to live such compelling lives that Babylon came to them.
Yes, they were called to be a light to the nations. If you have a bright light in a dark room, you don't need to chase people around with it. They are naturally drawn to it.
But And we have to be honest with the history books here. They didn't exactly nail that assignment, did they?
No, they failed spectacularly. Instead of converting their neighbors, they usually just copied their neighbors. They turned inward.
They made it an exclusive club.
Exactly. They treated the blessing like a private possession instead of fuel for the mission.
They forgot the instrumental part of the election.
Right. And that is why the prophets are always yelling in the texts. You read Isaiah or Jeremiah, and they're constantly grabbing Israel by the shoulders and turning them back toward the rest of the world.
Right. Isaiah says it's too small a thing to just save Israel.
Yes. God says he wants the ends of the earth.
And then you have Jonah.
Ah, Jonah, the anti-missionary.
I always thought Jonah was just a Sunday school story about a giant fish.
The fish is just the transport system. The entire point of the book of Jonah is that he hated the mission. God sends him to Nineveh, which was the Assyrian capital, basically the Paris of the ancient world, and says, offer them grace.
And Jonah basically says, no thanks, I would literally rather die.
He runs the exact opposite direction. It shows that God's heart for the other, for the enemy, was way bigger than his own people's heart was.
That is profound. So the Old Testament basically ends with this massive tension. God has a global mission, but his instrument, Israel, is fundamentally broken. The light is flickering.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the climax in the New Testament, the incarnation.
Enter Jesus.
Enter Jesus. But the source asks us to look at Jesus through this specific missional lens. He isn't just a smart teacher. He is the ultimate sent one.
Because the word apostle means sent one, right?
Yes. Hebrews 3 actually calls Jesus the apostle. He crosses the ultimate border from divinity to humanity. He does what Israel couldn't do. He is the faithful servant. He is the true light to the nations.
He finally fulfills the job description.
Perfectly. He gathers the marginalized, he teaches the kingdom, and then he dies for the whole world, not just for one tribe.
And then he leaves, he ascends. But before he goes, we finally get to the Great Commission.
We do. But the source argues the real explosion, the real turning point, happens in Acts chapter 2, Pentecost. And honestly, this was the biggest aha moment for me in the reading, the connection between Pentecost and the Tower of Babel.
Connect those dots for me, because one is an ancient tower and one is tongues of fire in an upper room.
Think about the function of both events. In Genesis 11, at Babel, humanity tries to build a monument to their own glory. Let's make a name for ourselves.
And God comes down and confuses their languages. He scatters them across the earth.
Right. Human sin and arrogance lead to confusion and separation. Now, look at Acts 2. The Spirit descends on the disciples. There are people there from every nation under heaven. And suddenly,
They can actually understand each other.
the confusion is entirely reversed. The Spirit allows everyone to hear the gospel in their own native tongue. The source frames Pentecost as the direct reversal of Babel. God is gathering what sin had scattered.
That is a really beautiful image. Babel is scattering, Pentecost is gathering.
And this signals that the centripetal days are officially over. It is now centrifugal. The force is moving outward.
The spinning ride is pushing them out.
Yes, the Spirit drives the church out of Jerusalem, into Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth.
Which brings us to the church today. And this goes right back to that opening idea we talked about. The church doesn't have a mission. God's mission has a church.
It changes everything about how we see ourselves. If the church has a mission, then it's a to-do list. It's a heavy burden. Oh, I have to go volunteer to make God happy.
It becomes completely guilt-driven.
Exactly. But if God's mission has a church, then the church is simply the instrument. We are the new Israel. We are the kingdom of priests. We don't own the mission. We just get the privilege to join in on what the Spirit is already actively doing in our own neighborhoods.
It takes so much pressure off. We aren't inventing the strategy.
We aren't. And it democratizes it. It's not just for the Navy SEALs of the faith who go to the jungle. It is for every single person.
So where is this massive stream flowing? If we have tracked from the garden through Israel to the cross to Pentecost, what is the final destination? What's the end game?
The destination is found in Revelation, specifically Revelation 7, verse 9.
Paint that picture for us.
John sees a vision, a great multitude that no one can count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne.
That sounds exactly like the fulfillment of the promise to Abraham, all families of the earth.
It is. It is mission accomplished. But notice the setting at the end of the book. The Bible begins in a garden.
And it ends in a city, the New Jerusalem.
That distinction is huge for our sources. A garden is nature. A city is culture. It is architecture, art, society, people living and working together. The argument is that the goal of mission isn't just to save souls so they can evacuate Earth and float on clouds. It is the new creation.
It's complete restoration.
Yes, God dwelling with his people here, restoring the physical world, restoring society, restoring broken relationships. It is a deeply holistic vision.
It really is a cohesive narrative when you lay it out like that. It's not disjointed at all. It's one continuous story of a God who absolutely refuses to give up on his creation.
Which naturally leads us to the so what.
Yeah, we have to land the plane because this is all fascinating history and theology. But for you listening to this on your morning commute who isn't a pastor and who isn't planning to move to a foreign country, what does this actually change for you tomorrow morning?
The source challenges us with the idea of vocation as mission.
Meaning my regular day job.
Your day job. Because if the mission is about new creation, about bringing order and beauty and redemption to the physical world, then an engineer building a safe bridge is participating in God's mission.
Wow.
A teacher creating a nurturing classroom is participating in God's mission. A barista making someone feel seen and valued in the morning is participating.
It completely destroys the sacred versus secular divide.
Completely. There is no secular.
Yeah.
There's only God's world that needs restoration. The source actively warns against privatizing the gospel, making it just about me and Jesus and my personal ticket to heaven.
It has to be bigger than that.
It has to be. If God cares about justice and beauty and order, then our everyday work in those areas deeply matters. You are sent to your office. You are sent to your specific neighborhood.
It sounds like we need to seriously update our mental maps. We don't need the corkboard with the push pins in the hallway anymore. We need to look at our own zip code.
That is the ultimate takeaway. You are already on the mission field. The question isn't, are you called? The question is, where are you placed?
I love that quote from the text we started with. The question is no longer whether the church has a mission, but whether we recognize that God's mission has a church.
It implies the train is leaving the station.
Yeah.
God is restoring the world right now. We can stand on the platform and just watch it go by, or we can get on board.
So here is a final provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about your week. The expert mentioned earlier that God's mission is about restoration, fixing what is fundamentally broken. Look around your life today. Look at your workplace, your family, your city. Where do you see brokenness?
Because if you see the brokenness, you might just be looking at your new assignment.
Thanks for taking the deep dive with us today. From Genesis to Revelation, tracing that one thread.
It's been a great ride.
We will catch you on the next one. Stay curious.